Hello everyone, this is Satyaprakash. Welcome to my channel. This is part 1 of AngularJS. So in this video, I'll show you how to create a AngularJS application, and we also find out some difference between Angular and React in .NET. So guys, before going through this video, please visit my part 1 of React, how to implement React in ASP.NET MVC and what is the environment setup for React.js. So before going through this video, please visit this video React.js, so you'll get the difference between React and Angular. Okay, so guys, in this video we'll discuss that is what is AngularJS, different parts of AngularJS, how to download script file to make functionalities in AngularJS application, how to implement the logic of AngularJS in ASP.NET MVC application. So guys, first of all, we need to I'll tell you, I have mentioned few points here about the AngularJS, so some definitions. So that is what is AngularJS. So AngularJS is an MVC based framework. It is developed by Google. So it is an open source project which can be used freely, modified and shared by others. And there are some features for AngularJS, okay, that is two-way binding, dependency injection, testing and model view controller, the same as the MVC applications. So two-way binding is, this means any changes to model updates the view, any changes to the view it updates the model. So there is built-in dependency injection which can make application easier to debug and maintain to test. Testing is Angular will test any of its code for both unit testing and end-to-end testing. It is called E2E. And a model view controller is split your application into MVC components, maintain these components and connecting them together means setting up the Angular. So here Angular MVC, here MVC implemented in JavaScript and HTML. The view is defined in HTML form while the model and controller are implemented in the JavaScript. Okay, so there are several methods by which these components can be put together in AngularJS. So what is views? Views is AngularJS application is created with an HTML. So the body of HTML that makes up views will be stored in separate files. And there is directives in Angular, so it used in HTML. There is ng-app, it starts an Angular application. ng-init, it initializes the application data. ng-model, it binds the values of AngularJS application data to HTML input controls. And ng-repeat, it repeats the HTML control for each them in collection. Okay, so that is all about the directives. So guys, what is controller in AngularJS? So AngularJS application has controller to control the flow of data in the application. A controller is controlled using ng-controller directive. It is a JavaScript object which contains attributes, properties and functions. It accepts the $scope as a parameter which refers to the application module that the controller is to control. There is filters in AngularJS, so it is used to modify the data and can be used in an expression or directives using pipe character. So there is uppercase, lowercase, currency, filter and order by. So this is the functionality I have mentioned in the definitions of each filters. Okay, so what is module? It is used to separate services, controllers, application, etc. We define module in separate JS file. There is two types of modules, that is application module and controller module. So it is used to initialize an application with controllers for application module, and a controller module it is used to define the controller. So second is scope in AngularJS. So scope is a JavaScript object which plays the role of joining controller with the views. So scope contains the model data. In controller, model data is accessed by the $scope object. So we have set the values to models which will be reflected in the application module. We can define the functions as well as in $scope. Custom directives in Angular, so it is used to AngularJS to enhance the functionality of HTML. It is used to define, these are defined using directive functions. So AngularJS application using Bootstrap finds the matching elements and does a one-time activity using its compile method of custom directive. So it then processes the element using link method of the custom directive, which is based on scope of directive. So type of custom directive is element directive, attribute directive, and CSS directive. So this activates when a matching element is encountered. So attribute directive is activates when a matching attribute is encountered. Okay, there is a matching element for element directive and attribute for matching attribute. So CSS directive, it activates when a matching CSS style is encountered. So this comment directive activates when a matching comment is encountered. So these are the types of custom directives. So what is internalization in AngularJS? It is a built-in internalization for three types of filters: currency, date, and number. So we only need to use corresponding JS according to local of the country. By default, it will take the local of browser. Includes in AngularJS it using to achieve embedded HTML pages inside HTML page functionality. The following which are used using Ajax. Okay, so it makes a call to get the corresponding HTML page and set in an inner HTML and HTML control. So using server side, including JSP, PHP, other website server technology can include HTML pages. So using AngularJS, we can embed HTML pages with a HTML page using ng-include directive. So Ajax in AngularJS, so it provides the $HTTPS control, which works as a service to retrieve the data from the server that makes a database call to get the required records. So it needs data in JSON format. When the data is ready, $HTTPS can be used to get data from the server. So there is many modules in AngularJS, different types: controller, services, directives, and filters. So a console application has main method in C#, which is the base entrance point to the application, and it connects to together the different parts of application. So same way, modules are the Angular application equivalent of the main method in AngularJS. Okay. So controller in AngularJS, it is a JavaScript function. In real-time scenario, controller calls into the service to retrieve data from the database. What is $scope in AngularJS? So $scope is a parameter that is passed to controller function by an Angular script framework. So we attach the model to the scope $scope object, which will be mostly available in the view. So within the view, we can retrieve the data from the scope object and display. So there is module that we created to the Bootstrap in Angular application. It will associate the module name with ng-up directive. So if you want to associate the module name, this is the syntax. And it will associate the controller using ng-controller directive. So if you assign the controller name, you should use the directive called ng-controller. So ng-up directive in AngularJS. There are many directives in AngularJS. You can find the complete list of directives on this site, https:/angularjs.org. So the ng prefix the directive stands for Angular. ng-directive is the initial point of an Angular application. It will first check the ng-up directive in an HTML page after the entire page is loaded. If ng-up directive is found, Angular Bootstrap itself and starts to manage the section of page that has the ng-up directive. So location to place the ng-up directive on the page. So it should be placed at the root path of HTML page document, that is at the HTML tag level or at the body level, so that Angular controller control the entire page. So you can place on any HTML element with the page. So double curly braces are called binding expressions in AngularJS. So I'll show you in the code. So there is few notes I have pointed out here. So job of controller is to build a model for the view. The controller did this by attaching the model to the scope. $scope is not the model, it is the data that you attach to the scope, that is the model. The message property that we have attached to the scope is the model. The view uses the data binding expression to retrieve the model from the scope. This means the controller is not manipulating the document object model directly, thus keeping the clean separation between the model view and the controller. The controller should only be used for setting up the $scope object and adding behavior it. So if there is some exceptions, if it is found, what we'll do, so if the controller name is invalid, okay, an error is read to see the error using browser developer tool. The binding expression in the view that the scope of the controller is not evaluated. Another option is if you are in the development environment, you may use the non-minified version of AngularJS script which produces readable error message. Second exception is what happens if a property name in the binding expression is invalid. So Angular will not report an error, it will simply return null or undefined. Third error is tips to recover from above mentioned errors or invalid names. That is if controller name is invalid or if any property name in the binding is invalid. So put module controller and register the controller with the model should be in one line. Okay. So guys, next we'll jump to the next step, that is how to create a simple application to understand the better. So here I have pointed out some few steps. Okay, that is, first of all we need to download the script file from AngularJS site. That we go to the AngularJS. This is the official site of AngularJS. Okay, so you need to go to this URL. Okay, so to build AngularJS application, you should download the script file. It is angular.js. To get the script file, this is the URL. You just click on this download AngularJS. Once you download this, you go to here your download folder. Okay, and as of now it is the 1.8.2. okay, and once you extract this folder what you downloaded, you'll get one angular.js and angular.minified version of JS. Okay, so as per requirement I just use this angular.js file. Okay, so then next step is so what I'll do is that is I need to add in my project. So guys, this is the project. Okay, I have used this same project across all my videos, that is MVC Consume Web API. In my last video, that is React, also I have used this project MVC Consume Web API. So what I'll show you that so that file I have downloaded. Okay, so after downloaded we need to add this angular.js file in the project by creating a new folder called scripts. And okay, so here it is already there, scripts folder, so we just inside the folder I have added this angular.js file. Okay, same I have downloaded. So this is the step 1, and step 2 is this is the step 1 and step 2 is create a empty MVC controller. So here I have created a one controller that is called empty MVC controller, that is Angular controller, and it has an index action method. Okay, so step number 3 is I need to create a JavaScript file to configure module and controller in AngularJS. Okay, so same way in the scripts folder I have created one script.js file. Okay, and in the script.js file you just find out I have added this lines of code here. Okay, so what is this code defines is this is creating a model in Angular is straightforward. So use this Angular objects model method to create the module. Okay, the Angular object is provided by Angular script. So the following that is one or my app equal to angular.module, and this is the module name. So it will create the module in Angular. So the first parameter specifies the name of the module, second parameter specifies the dependency of the module. Okay, So a module can depend on other modules. The module that we are creating is not dependent on any other external modules. So I am passing an empty array as the value of second parameter. Okay. So next step is, this is the controller. We need to define it. So to create the controller in AngularJS, create a JavaScript function and assign it to the variable. So use module objects controller function to register the controller with the module. Creating the controller and registering the module are all done in one line. Okay. So if you want to create the in one line, you want to register the modules and controller in one line, you just do it using the myapp.controller. Okay, here we can define it's a myapp. Just instead of this one, you should mention here myapp.controller and the controller name and the functions, that is the past function is the parameter as a $scope. Okay, so in the example here we need to pass the one sample message, that is $scope.message. Okay, so I'll show you I'll explain this line. What is this? So this example is message is a sample property. It will display this message in the UI. Okay guys, so what next step is, what we need to do is create a view to call AngularJS controller and properties. Okay, so here to create Angular to create a view in MVC to call the Angular controllers, what I'll do is I just click on, go to Angular controllers, right click on the index. Okay, and there is one empty without model views there. You should go through my previous videos, there I have clearly described what are the steps to create the view and a controller. So once you'll do this, you will get under views folder, there is Angular folder and index.cshtml is created, and you can see the index.cshtml is created here. Okay, so this is the code for views, index view. Okay, so guys, you just noticed one thing, that I have added the path reference, that is script angular.js and script.js, which I have created under solution, that is under scripts. Okay, so that I have mentioned this path reference here, and this is the ng-app my model. Okay, this is the directive I used to call the module, because in script.js I have used the module name as my module. Okay, so here I have using directive, I have implemented that. So this one, the angular.js path reference, this is the script.js, which we are added some functionalities in the script.js file. Okay, so here I added the controller related information in this script file. The controller is not that is the script.js, the controller is not manipulating the document object model directly, so thus keeping that clean separation between should be only used for setting up the $scope object and adding behavior to it. So we have an sample message property with the sample message. Okay, so here in index.html I have used that ng-controller directive name, that is my controller, because in script I have the controller name is my controller. So index.html I'll show you that index.html I have used the my controller name, the same name, that is in div tag, and main directive for parent directive, that is ng-app directive here. So ng-app directive we need to use for call the module. So that directive name is my module in the HTML tag. Because of this ng-directive we can access ng-controller directive. So both directives we mentioned in the script.js file. Okay guys, so once it is done, what I'll do is I go to my build and run the applications. So you remember, and you can notice one thing, this scope.message property, it shows the message only. So in the index.cshtml inside div tag, I just mentioned here message is, this is as a sample label, and in the double curly braces I have just used this property name message, so that it will show this message, that is AngularJS tutorial. Okay, so I just want to run my application, and I will show the output here. So guys, here we can see the expected output, that is message with AngularJS tutorial, that is we have configured in our script.js file. Okay, so next we will move to our second example, that is I have already created. Okay, so instead of that only message, so we just copy these things in our code. So we just remove this line, that is $scope.message only. Okay, and we copy paste here. So uncomment this one. So guys, this is the second example. So here we have a object name called Satya, and which is a complex object. It has three properties attached to the view. Okay, so this is the same way under controller and module. We just add these things, and it will assign this all the property name which is value to the scope $scope object, that is Satya. Okay, so once it will do, we need to also change in our views. Go to index.cshtml, comment this existing line of this one, dull this message, okay, save these changes, go to the browser and refresh it. So guys, here you have noticed I am getting first name, last name and gender values. Okay, so I'll explain this code in our views. That is, within the view we can retrieve the Satya properties and display them in the views. So to access this property name, we just use the double curly braces here, and we access this Satya object and its corresponding properties, that is first name, Satya.last name and Satya.gender. So after the implementation, I am getting the expected output here. So guys, this is the second example. Then I will explain one last and third example, which is very real time. Okay, so what I'll do is I just go to my one, close this and go to my this one. Okay, this one here I have used three properties. That is, one is, I'll show you here, that is, okay, we need to comment it, and paste here, just uncomment this line. So guys, here also this is profile, and it has three properties, name, site and flare. So name is the name of the user, this is site name, and this is and the third one is it will show the image. Okay, and this profile object, it will be assigned to the $scope.profile with its property name and values. So we need to update also in our views, that is index.cshtml. So go to my views, index.cshtml, we need to comment and paste here. Okay, okay guys, so here I'll explain these things. one by one. That is, go to my Visual Studio script.js. Okay, so here we can see properties values using the profile object as defined in script.js file. Okay, so there is to access the name, and site is the another properties, and player properties and name properties. So to access the name, we should use in the view as profile.name. Same way for URL profile.site, and same way for image profile.flare. Okay, so what it will do is there is after then what I will do is I just explain this. In script.js we have defined the objects and its properties and values, and in the index we just access this property values using double curly braces. And for images I have mentioned inside the image tag img, and here the alternate name I have mentioned if the image is not found, and I have used some CSS style height and width. Okay, and once it is done we need to go to our routeconfig.cs file. Just for startup page we just using the Angular controller name and index action method name. Okay, so this is the steps we need to follow up in our AngularJS to create AngularJS application in MVC. Next is we'll check the output here. Okay, so go here. After all the changes we need to go here and copy these lines, paste. So guys, here I can see the expected output, that is name is I'm getting the name that is I have used inside the script.js. okay, and this is the site name, so I'm getting the site name as well, site URL, and in the player I am getting the image because I have mentioned this URL inside the image tag. Okay, so here I am getting the image as well. So we'll check few scenarios, like if the image is not found, that is what I'll do is instead of Satya I just use a satya1.jpg. okay, and what I'll do is we just close this, go here to my browser, again incognito mode, and paste here. See, here image is not found, but the alternate image name is found. That is because in our index.cs HTML I have used the alternate name. It will show profile.name plus flare, so that's why it's showing profile name flares, because my image is not found. So make the image correct name, go to my URL. okay, you can go to my URL, there is. So now I'm getting the image properly. Okay, so there is one more thing we need to check, if the control name is not correct, because script has the controller name is my controller, but in index.cs HTML I just make it as my controller1. So that means this is the invalid controller name in AngularJS. So I just make it using it. So guys, see, I have used the invalid controller name, that's why I'm not getting any response here. It shows this the double curly braces profile.site, profile.name, and profile.url, profile name plus flare. Okay, so if you go to inspect element, and click on console, we are getting failed to load resources, server responded with status code. Okay, that means it shows that the controller with the name my controller1 is not registered. So this is the exception we can check. Second one is just make it as correct controller name. Again go to here, just refresh. Now I'm getting the response here. So what I'll do is, instead of that profile.name, just make it as a invalid uh, name the invalid property name, instead of name1, and save the changes. Go here and refresh. So here guys, see, the name is not showing because I have been modified the name as name1 as an invalid name property. So if we'll go here to inspect element, and controller, see, it shows failed to load resources, server not responded with the status code. Okay, so in this way we can check the exceptions if invalid controller name or invalid property name of the specific object. Okay, so again we need to refresh the URL. I can see the output. So let's check if we have the invalid module. Okay, because I have used the module name as per the script.js my module. So in views I just make it as invalid module to my module 1. Refresh it. So see, still we cannot see any output because we have used the invalid module name. So go to inspect element and console. See, here it shows the message failed to load resources, server responded with status code 404 not found, and there is failed to instantiate module my module due to error. So my module 1 is not available. You either misspelled the module name or forgot to load it. So this is the exception. We can check it in the browser in AngularJS application. Okay, so make it is a correct module name, save the changes, go here, refresh. Now I'm getting the expected output here. So guys, in this way we can use the AngularJS application in MVC. Okay, and we can check the output if the valid module name, control name and property name is defined in the views, we can check the output. And also there is one more things you can notice, that it shows the current today's date and time. I have defined here in the views, that is in the footer tag I have used this @date time .now to local time, so it will show the current date time here. Okay, so go to my presentation. So guys, in this way we can configure and make environment setup for AngularJS application, and how to use in ASP.NET MVC, ASP.NET Core and other websites, other website development technologies. Okay, we can use the AngularJS application we can use in our websites to use this AngularJS application. So this video is preferred for who are the .NET background and you want to use AngularJS application in your .NET application. So guys, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.